Yo, BJ Gaddour with the Daily BJ, and this is a deep dive on dips, the ultimate chest and triceps builder. Lots of things to cover here. This is very instructional, so if you don't like long form content, check me out on Instagram at BJ Gaddour. But I want you to leave this video with everything you need to know how to do the dip properly, how not to do it, different variations, and also a 10-step progression, 10 steps to build up to the most advanced dipping variations to add slabs of mass to your upper body. It also works the shoulders. Amazing movement. I'm going to be showing this on a set of parallel bars. I'll also show an off-bench option. But number one, you look at grip. So a lot of people are familiar with this more entry-level option off of a bench, a couch, a chair, a ottoman, and it has some pros and cons to it. Some people's shoulder anatomies, because of the internally rotated position and having a pronated overhand grip, can have pain in the shoulder with this movement. So I've never had an issue with that. I know a lot of people who haven't. So it's not one of those things where I'd say this is a terrible exercise, never do it. Listen to your body. Don't let anybody put you in a box. If it feels sketchy, if it feels bad, uncomfortable, don't do it. But this tends to be one option that almost anyone can access because a set of parallel bars is tough sometimes at home or in different limited gym setups. But the key focus here on all our dips, we're going to try to maintain a vertical forearm position, and you want to keep the chest up. The other bad thing about this, now bent knee is going to be easier, it's a little more assistance, straight leg is harder than if I elevate the feet onto something else, that'll make it even more challenging. But if you have poor hamstring flexibility, a lot of times as you come down on this, you'll really round out that lumbar spine and hurt yourself. So you might need to bend the knees as needed there to make it a little bit easier, but the key focus is I keep my chest up, I'm not letting it duck or tip like that, I'm keeping my forearms vertical, and only go as low as you can. Ideally you want to get those upper arms or triceps parallel to the floor. If you can get a little bit lower where that shoulder crease is just beneath the elbow crease, that's even better. But this tends to be a great option for higher reps or just kind of building up into this, or in situations where you can't get a parallel bar option. If it bothers your shoulders, don't do it. Go to the parallel bar option. This whole deep dive will be on the parallel bar setup, but this is a really more advanced variation, the straight bar option, where I have my arms like this. I'll go like this so you can see better. And super challenging. You want to be able to do 20 regular body weight parallel bar dips before you go to the straight bar. It's really challenging. You'll have to engage more shoulders and traps on this. And all we do there is we lower the chest down into the floor. It's better with a higher bar too, because you actually have to let your legs come forward a bit to be able to access the movement. And it's really more of a gymnastics movement, something that can help you build up to the top portion of a muscle up. But for our purposes, I have to go back over there, we're going to focus more on just the parallel bar dip. Now, your trunk angle is going to dictate whether you get more chest or triceps. The more upright your trunk, the more triceps, but also the more required mobility you need at the shoulder. So it can be kind of tough on some people's shoulders to stay totally upright, though it does get more triceps. A forward lean is going to get more chest, so you can play around with that as well. The closer the grip, the more range of motion you have to cover, the harder the movement is. And yes, it gets easier as you get wider to a certain point. Once you go like super wide like this, now it becomes almost like a freaking iron cross, so it's, or a chest fly, so it's super hard and can be very tough on the shoulders, that stretch, especially impingement at the rotator cuff, the glenohumeral joint. Just got to be careful with that. So you want to find ideally about shoulder width apart or slightly wider is a great place to start. Coming closer will make it harder because more range of motion and more tricep recruitment. So that's something else to consider. Now on form and technique, the big flaws with this are a couple things. One, people start badly at the top. It's all about getting a good starting position, a good bottom position. The top and the bottom, once those are locked in, you can lock everything else in between. So when you start with like a rounded shoulder position and the elbows out, you're going to be causing yourself to go like this, and that's just so bad. It's so bad. Don't do it. You'll destroy your shoulders and elbows. Another thing that happens too is you want to keep your elbows in. You want to keep your forearms vertical. So if I come down and I start coming back like this, see my forearm position? That's really bad in the elbow. I want to be like this. You see that? Forearms are completely vertical, head in line with the spine. My abs are tucked. I also like to bring my legs together and bring them forward. Now, if I had higher parallel bars or like a dip machine at a gym, I would actually do this with my legs straight and hanging kind of in front of my body like this. I can't do it because I'm using these shorter parallel bars, but I would start like this and come down, start like this or like that and come down from that position. Kind of a hollow body setup, but I liked, in this situation, knees are tucked and knees slightly in front of the body, so you can maintain a nice, straight, stable midline, stable spinal position, so you're not ending up like this, extended, because you can really cause some stress to the lower back. So that's another thing to consider. In terms of depth, right? The ideal depth, much like squatting, don't let anybody tell you that it's not a squat if you don't go ass to grass. Everybody has different hip anatomies when it comes to squatting, different ankle and hip mobility issues. When it comes to the shoulder, it's no different. Everybody has unique shoulder anatomies, different mobility. Longer arm lifters are going to have more trouble with this movement, okay? Even though you'll get a lot of gains from it because it's harder, you've got to travel more distance. And if you're a larger person like me, 6'2", 225, the dip is always a strength and muscle builder no matter how good you get at it. Because your body is your barbell. A heavier barbell, more load, more gain stimulus. So what we want to do on the dip is at the top, we start, pull the ribs and shoulders down, abs crunch tight. I'm going to relatively kind of lean forward a bit so my forearms remain vertical and get to the point where ideally that shoulder crease is just beneath the elbow crease, where upper arms are parallel to the floor, slightly lower, pause, push up and return to the start position. That is what we're looking for. Let's go through the 10-step level of progression here, make sure I got everything locked in that I wanted. Also, another big form fault is the broken wrists. You've got to keep your wrists straight. If you're allowing yourself to go like this, you're going to cause a lot of wrist pain. So see that? Bad. Completely straight. Boom. None of this stuff happening. So let's go through the progression. 10-step. First one is using your feet as assistance. By the way, on all these progressions, unless I indicate otherwise, you want to be able to do multiple sets of 10 plus reps before you move to the next progression. These never become, even if you're at level 10, you can still access the level 1 for higher reps, warm-up sets. So it's just one of those things. It's much like a weight selector. You can bump the weights up and down, the levels up and down, based on how many reps you want to do, the intensity you're looking for, etc. Even drop sets, mechanical, where I'm going from a harder variation to an easier one to really make it go. Now, before I show the 10-step progression here, I have deep dives on push-ups. I do think just because of the nature of the push-up being a little more shoulder-friendly, more accessible, less of your body weight involved, I would recommend mastering the push-up first, getting familiar with that, though you can access any of these entry-level dip progressions right away. Still access my deep dive on push-ups as well at my channel. It'll help a lot. Combined with the dip, push-ups and dips, you don't need much else to build the chest, the triceps. So just consider that. First one, feet assisted. They're going to be in front of your body. And the beauty of this is you only use as much assistance as you need from your legs. So I'm going to lower and control, vertical forearms, head in line with spine, come right up. You can also kind of make sure, especially on the descent where you're stronger, use less assistance from the legs and then more assistance from the legs on the way up. Level 2, all I do is I pick up one leg and now I just can't assist as much on one leg at a time. Obviously, if I extended the legs out in both level 1 and 2, that's going to prevent me from using more assistance. All right, so that's another way you can make each of those more challenging, from a bent-legged to a straight-legged, both one leg and two. So those are levels 1 and 2. Then we look at the classic assisted dip for level 3. I can use one of those Gravitron dip assist machines at most gyms. Many will not have access to that. So what we do is we take a band, and there's lots of ways to do this, by the way. You could, depending on where you have your dip attachment, you could anchor it vertically into a power rack. If I'm using a set of parallel bars, I'm just going to hook it in like this, right on top of the handles here. Get the good spacing I need. All right, and then all I do is make sure it's set, grab it. I'm going to put my knees on it, and what it does is as it gets more challenging towards the bottom of the move, the band unloads my body weight and kind of slingshots me back up. So that's one of my favorite ways to do the assisted dip, and this is a great level 3 option to build up into that. All right, from there, lots of progressions, but again, a real safe way to do it. You've got to approach your training as much of a scientific way as possible to get the results you're looking for safely and not overwhelm your shoulders or your body. From there, we go into dip isos at the top. Like I mentioned, if you can't hold the top, it's going to be really hard to establish good mechanics and position of the joints, which will mean you're going to be opening up to injury as you go into the stretch position at the bottom. So you want to build up to doing sets of 1 to 2 minute holds. Relaxed, breathing through the belly, not through the chest, of just holding the top of that dip and really rooting the shoulder. So we don't want this ever with the dip. You got to keep those shoulders packed down and back, crunch the abs, tuck the knees, squeeze the legs, and clench the chest hard right there, head in line with the spine. Build up to getting comfortable in that dip support position for 1 to 2 minute holds. From there, we're going to go into eccentric or lowering reps only. Much like my deep dive on the push-up, that was a big component of building the eccentric or lengthening strength which allows you, where you're stronger, to build up the entry-level strength to eventually do it on your own with your body weight. So we start at the top, and on this eccentric one, you're looking to do sets of 5 to 10 reps with 5 to 10 second lowerings. I'm gonna get locked in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right there. And then I walk back up, repeat the pattern. From there, when we go into level 6, same thing, except we're adding a 5-second hover hold, knees just above the ground, or if you're taller or higher up, right at that bottom position for 5-second hold. So it's 5 seconds down, 5-second hold. Same thing, sets of 5 to 10 reps on these, building up to that. So I'd go here, and now we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now right there, hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Walk it back up and repeat. So now building some of that strength and stability at the bottom of the movement. Once you get comfortable down there, much like at the bottom of the squat, you own that position, coming back up becomes a cakewalk, all right? And then we go into, before we go into our pure dip for level 8, level 7 is just extended holds for time at the bottom of the dip. So you want to be able to do multiple sets of at least 30 to 60 seconds at the bottom. So what I would do is, much like we just showed, I lower in control, come here, upper arm parallel to the floor, or elbow, shoulder crease just beneath elbow crease, hover, hold. Don't just hold it, kind of actively keep tension in the core, the chest, kind of squeeze the handles hard, create that irradiation effect where all the muscles kind of synergize together and create more stability and strength. Then we go into the pure dip, which we've shown. That's level 8, all right? And we're gonna hopefully build up to, again, multiple sets of 10 plus reps. You can also play around within that level of progression with tempo, 3 seconds down, 2-second pause. So many ways to have fun with it. That's kind of beyond this video. But now we look at ways in which we can add resistance. The first way I'd recommend is with band tension, because band tension, and by the way, you can do this multiple ways. I could anchor this to some really heavy dumbbells or power rack in the ground, wrap around my hips or my neck, and then on a higher setup, I can get resistance coming through. In this setup, all I do is take it like this over the top, right around my traps, and then I'm just gonna push down and grab the handles. And why this is so good and more joint friendly than true weighted dips is you only get the increased resistance towards the top of the movement. So when I come down here, it's my body weight where my joints are most susceptible to injuries, and as I come through, I get more resistance as I come through the top and get lockout strength, all right? So that's why it's so good for really giving you kind of a tweener between body weight and true dead weight, weight vests or chain dips. And it's just a great variation to add to the mix as well. Great for the triceps, and typically your triceps are the limiting factor on dips. You'll get maybe halfway up because the chest is a bigger, stronger muscle group, and just like in the bench press, if those babies aren't strong enough, you can't lock it out. So consider that as well. And then we look at so many ways to add dead weight. I like chains, especially the gold chains. His gold is best. This is where 2 chains meets Mr. T, oh God, meets dip set. Oh, harder to get on, but you look a lot cooler. These are 2 20-pound chains. You can also go with a weight vest, lots of options. I also do like to sometimes add a mix of, and I'll show it at the end, just for the sickos that are watching the video here. And now we have the same load coming through the full range of motion, and these are now where you start building, once you can do sets of 10 plus reps of regular dips, you start now looking to add some load, much like weighted pull-ups. Once you can do 10, now you're just doing sets of high reps, and that's just it's endurance, which is great, but at some point you got to start now going lower to medium reps, building strength, which allows you then to end up doing higher, more weight for higher reps, but also more reps with your body weight. And then this is like level 11. Kill someone on this is combination band and dead weight. This is like next level stuff here, but again, I'm just showing you how you layer. It's like an onion. All these progressions are like onions. You add or subtract layers based on what you're looking for. And now I'm getting also the ascending resistance and band tension through the top. So that is the dip. I will give you quickly, based on how much time, that's it. Hey, check out thedailybj.com. Hope you enjoyed this. Peace.